Hey everybody, it's John Pollock here. A pleasure to be joined in studio by the man himself. You've been watching House of Hardcore Tuesday nights here on Fight Network, and now here you are at Fight Network. Tommy, is it everything that television projects down in the US?
I feel like this is my new home. I've seen this every single Tuesday, watching the show. I've seen this set, and now I'm part of it. Happy to be here.
You're coming up on 3 years since House of Hardcore launched. How long was this an idea for you? And getting into the promotional side of it, was this always something you felt would be an end goal for you, to have something of your own?
I always wanted to do it. I mean, I did it, again, in the original ECW. I wrote shows for WWE that were profitable. I wrote shows for TNA. It was always with someone else's dollar. I've lost some more hair, and I have some grays now that I started my own promotion. But it's something that I said, hey, let me give it a shot. And from the first show, we did really, really good. And then it got a lot of reviews, and especially for, like I was saying, social media, it got no negative reviews, which is very, very interesting to see. So then as the shows keep on progressing and fans and keep coming, as well as, you know, we keep on selling out arenas, which is kind of the goal. Who thinks to make money in professional wrestling and sell out arenas and give fans what they want?
What a concept in
what
2015.
A novel concept. So, but yeah, we were able to do it. So to say, I've been a wrestling fan since I'm 9 years old, and I used to have a wrestling dice game called Superstar Wrestling Game. It had Dusty Rhodes leg-locking Terry Funk on the cover, and I would roll the dice. I played this game probably till I was 16 years old too. That's how much I loved it and how much I was a wrestling geek. And so I guess my early stages of, you know, being a promoter, booker, just everything involved in wrestling was doing that. So I guess I always wanted. And then at 22 years old, I was brought into the editing studio of ECW and learned how to, you know, edit a television show, and sat next to the crazy evil genius Paul Heyman. And you know, from there I was helping book the shows, do all that stuff. So it's just kind of, I guess, the natural progression. You can't wrestle forever, though I wish I could, except for today, my neck's a little bit sore.
Yeah, tell us about this choke slam you took over the weekend. You've retired taking choke slams.
Correct. Also, I got nice. I don't know if you can see
Oh
it.
my goodness. We'll have to get a close-up of that.
Always remember, wrestling is fake, but please do not try fake stuff at home. That is from Sunday. That was from me putting the guy through the table.
And you're in Texas Sunday, and here you are now doing media all over the city?
I wrestled Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then I was supposed to fly out Tuesday. That got all messed up, so I came here Wednesday. Now we're doing a total media blitz. Anyway, you know, when I was 28, I broke my neck. I wrestled for 4 months with a broken neck. Would leave my matches like this, and then actually wrestling Canada's own Lance Storm on pay-per-view, my back blew out. I herniated 3 discs in my back. Go get MRIs, all that stuff, and they're like, when did you break your neck? And I was like, what? So we're trying to trace back when I broke my neck. I had a hairline fracture. It was pretty rough. Got through it, never had a surgery. I've been wrestling 25 years. So anyway, you feel your aches and pains, plus I'm 44 years old. And I was wrestling Sunday against Lance Hoyt, gave me a choke slam, and I don't really feel pain. Adrenaline is crazy, got me through a lot of matches. The first time ever, I was like, and I was like, ooh, that didn't feel right. And so I was laying on the canvas, and I was just like, whoa, like, didn't feel right, and it hurt. And that was the first time ever I got that little, like, weird cringe and all that stuff. So I was able to finish the match. Plus, we had about a 25-minute match. And I put him through the table, got out, and just as the adrenaline is leaving you, you feel a little bit more. So
then
just
reality sinks in.
wrapped a towel. I don't live a life of pain. The only time I feel pain is when I fly, which unfortunately is a lot. Sitting in that chair like this. I also was on Southwest, which was a middle seat for me. I have no status on Southwest. So I'm sitting there like this, those poor 2 people next to me, and I'm doing the head nod, and you know, this big giant man sitting next to them with an injured neck. And but you know, hey, it happens. It's part of the game. No regrets.
You mentioned, you know, just studying under Paul Heyman, and to me, I look at that legacy of ECW, and the analogy I always make is that, you know, Eddie Graham was a super successful promoter out of Florida, but one of his biggest legacies are the people that learned under Eddie Graham. Dusty Rhodes, Bill Watts, Kevin Sullivan, and a lot of that I see in ECW, where a lot of you guys, it was like going and getting your PhD in professional wrestling, and now you come out of it and are ready to branch out onto your own. That seems to be the kind of environment that Paul Heyman created under ECW, was not just simply hiring and firing guys, it was teaching.
Correct. And the big difference with original ECW is we actually had creative freedom. A lot of people talk about, oh, we used to drink the Kool-Aid. I don't know how it is here, but your boss most times do it this way. We were able to like, well, what if we could do it this way without repercussions? Or we don't like your idea. Well, then give me another one. And it wasn't a volatile situation. That's what Paul did. And it's funny that you said that because Dusty, I was just telling the story, Dusty Rhodes brought Paul Heyman into NWA, WCW when Paul was 23 years old. And Paul studied under Dusty as well. And
That's
then
right. You can trace it all back.
When Dusty passed away, I text something to Paul about, hey, because Paul brought in Dusty, and Dusty was my hero. He's, the reason why I'm Tommy Dreamer. And he was just like, yeah, this one hurts a lot. And he was like, Dusty gave me a chance at 23 to follow my dream and put me on television. I said, well, full circle. Guess you did that same thing to me. And, I got to study under you. So it was kind of that learning tree, which a lot of times, it took so much. I would come through the curtain of an ECW match. I had Paul Heyman, Terry Funk, Mick Foley, Kevin Sullivan, all there helping me. Now, especially on indies, you don't have that. Or even in WWE, I don't know. I've wrestled there, and I'll come back and just my agent, whoever it was, would be like, oh, good match. I love when someone tells me, well, what if you did something this way? What if you did something that way? Even me, I wrestled at an NXT event. Yep. I worked Philadelphia the first night, Albany the second night. I switched something around that I did in that match. And in 25 years in wrestling, I learned something new. And I was like a little kid coming out of the developmental system. I was like, man, I learned something new. They're all looking at me like, what is this crazy veteran talking about? I was like, no, guys, you don't understand. I tried something the first night. It didn't get the reaction I wanted. I did it the second night, and I just changed, and it got a huge reaction. Like I did it forever. And it was just, to me, I love that. Every day you need to learn, you need to grow as a performer or as a person. And that, to me, is one of the most positive things that could come out for me of professional wrestling, when I could watch a younger person like a Tony Nese or a Team Tremendous, Vic Delicious, all people who are working for House of Hardcore that don't have national names. They get a little bit of television. You guys saw it on the Fight Network. Petey Williams, Alex Reynolds, Tony Nese, they had three-way matches where I was like, or even my favorite tag team right now, the Young Bucks. They have, never been to WWE. They're probably the hottest tag team in wrestling. I use them on all my shows. They're in New Japan. To me, that's what I want to show. Showcase the world, people's talent. That's why no politics, no BS, just wrestling.
And that goes to House of Hardcore and how it's established that identity, because when it was first announced, people were wondering, is this going to be a nostalgia promotion? And you were able to, it's been the perfect mix of everything. If you are an ECW fan from the mid-90s that wants to see the Sandman do his entrance, you provide them that. If you're looking for what is the cutting edge style of professional wrestling, you're providing that, and it's become its own promotion with its own identity. Yep. And you have to be very proud of that.
Every person I pick on my roster is really, my team. And in ECW, we had this mentality. Here's my match. If you did not top it, if you could not follow the match that was before you, you didn't deserve to be in that spot. That's the only competitiveness. Go out there and just entertain. Do what you do. And like you said, there is a different style. And I look at also wrestling, even though it's predetermined, but from a sports background. Every great sports franchise or team, veterans, guys in their prime, and rookies. I don't care if it's hockey, basketball, baseball, or football. That's what you have to anchor a championship. And I want to win a championship every time a House of Hardcore show is on. I want the fans to just say, I just saw Game 7 and my favorite team just won.
Now, when you're going around to locker rooms all over the country and there are young talent that are just breaking in, have been in maybe 2-3 years, how receptive do you find that they are to constructive criticism? Is there a certain learning curve where you do have to put that ego aside in order to get to the next level? Here you are, a veteran of decades, and you're still open to criticism.
Yeah, some guys are. To me, you want to go to your coaches or people who have made it. Mm-hmm. Some people, I guess, are a little intimidated, or if Tommy Dreamer is in their locker room, or I love when, hey, can you watch my match? Because you want to actually take your career somewhere else. A lot of guys will go out there and wrestle, and then they talk to their friends. Well, if your friends are on the same level as you, let's say if you're in AAA ball or AA ball, if this was baseball, and you have, I don't know, Derek Jeter or Josh Donaldson's on a rehab, and hey, can you look at my swing, blah, 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 that's going to improve you to get where you want to go. So to me, if I was on, I can't watch every single match, but I will watch somebody and be like, hey, you either did something really, really good or you did something really, really bad. I love, again, when someone says, watch my match, and I don't know you, this is where you have to do, I've told people they're horrible, but improve yourself. Or, hey, you're really good, but this isn't for me. This, WWE cares more about guys' bodies and physiques. That's me. I care about what you do in the ring. You got to hit the gym, and I'm not saying it to make fun of you but you want to take your career to the next level. I remember when I was your age, I still eat, sleep, and drink wrestling, but I was, 22, 25, wanting to make it, and I was in the gym. No matter how tired you are, you have to contribute 100% of your life to wrestling. And I know there's guys with families. You have real jobs. I had all that too. So, if you want to pay your dues and sacrifice, that's what, and it's not just in wrestling, it's in everything. It's, in mixed martial arts, you can't go to the big arenas, you got to fight in the smaller places. It's in music, it's in every sport. So you can't come out of high school and go right to the pros. You got to go to the minor systems to get to the major league level.
And you've had the benefit of working in every capacity in professional wrestling. And going back, I believe it was around 2004 when you took a role with the WWE behind the scenes and working in talent relations. At that time in your career, did you feel you had wrestled your last match? What was that decision process and what you took out of that working behind the scenes?
It helped me a lot, especially in WWE, to learn. This always got me in trouble because, like I said, I was bred to express, hey, I don't want to just run up the hill that way. I want to run up the hill that way. No, we want you to run up the hill that way. That was a huge difference between WWE and ECW. Working in the office, I was not the happiest person to do that because I felt I had a lot more to contribute in the ring. When I first went to WWE, I was 29 years old. I gave my 20s to ECW, and now my 30s were going in WWE. And they kind of said, hey, this is all we have for you, or else guess what, you're unemployed. And at the time, my wife was pregnant, and we had twins. So I was like, I'll take it. And I was able to hire a lot of people, and I ran the developmental system, which is now NXT. And I love that part of helping people follow their dreams. That was great. But I did think I wrestled my last match, and I wasn't happy about it. Yeah. So then when they did the relaunch of ECW, that really, really kicked it back for me, and I had a second run, and it was enjoyable.
I have to imagine that for someone like you, I mean, getting to make that phone call and making someone's dream, hey, we're hiring you, even bringing them in for a tryout. I mean, I can't imagine that ever got old, being able to make that phone call.
John Laurinaitis was my boss, and all I told him was, I don't want to fire people. That's because that's not what I'm about. You get to fire people. You get to be the bad guy.
No, you can be a good cop.
Well, that wasn't my decision. If I could hire everybody, I would. I mean, and even like my own shows, got to understand, hey, I could only have 8, 9 matches. I'd love to have, a WrestleMania type of show, but there's budget, there's everything. But even like in the developmental system, okay, I could only have maybe 30 guys here and 30 guys there. There's only a few spots. Once people get called up to the roster or once they get, let go, it opens up a hole. But it was never my decision, oh, this person should be fired or if they messed up. So I was like, I don't want to do that. So you get to do that. Let me just hire people. And I have a great list of people that I helped. And it's funny, you talk to a lot of wrestlers. A lot of people imitate my voice. I have a kind of a monotone type of voice. And especially when I was miserable sitting in the office every day, and just how I hired them. And Ken Anderson has a great Tommy Dreamer story. I was like, he would call me once a week, like, hi, this is Ken Anderson from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Like, I know who you are, Ken. I'm gonna hire you one day. I just can't do it now. And then so finally he just figured I was just blowing him off. And then he gave me his wrong number when I wanted to hire him. So he stopped calling for like 3 months. And then he called me back and he was like, hi, this is Ken. I go, Ken, hang on. And he was like, Tommy Dreamer never told me to hang on. I was like, hey, I want to hire you. And he was like, what? And he goes, I want to hire. I want to hire you. And he was like, no, really? And I was like, listen, do you want me to hire you or not? Or I mean, Beth Phoenix, another person I hired, she was thinking of quitting the business, and she was at Perkins where she was working, and she just like tried to act so like composed, and that she was now going to realize her dream. As soon as she hung the phone, burst out crying and all this. Again, people have shared great stories with me of how I helped them, which is cool, and even doing those independent shows, I've got to see my life's work from ECW or just myself come to fruition, because when you're on the road in WWE, you're 300 days a year, and you land, you go to the gym, you wrestle, you go to the next town. Now I'm able to talk to fans at like meet and greets, and they'll tell me how myself or ECW helped them through a rough time in life, and it's really, really cool. It's very rewarding just to sit. I mean, I've talked to people who, this one kid told me he was diagnosed with lymphoma, told he was going to die, and he said, I thought I was going to, the doctor told me watch professional wrestling because those guys, fight and they do all these things that could inspire him. And he said, I thought I was going to die at 9 years old, and I latched on to The Undertaker and you. He goes, because I thought when I was going to die, I was going to see The Undertaker. And he said, and you, because I saw you get beat up, and I was like, there's no way this guy would come back, and you came back. And I met him at a show, and he's talking slow, and he's like, I have a chemo brain. I'm sorry, I can't speak. He goes, I can't be a wrestler, but I'm a referee. And he goes, I'm also cancer-free. He's like, and I just start crying. He's crying. Wow. He's like, it's because of you I'm alive. And he's just like, thank you. And another person told me, man, my parents divorced when I was a kid, and I didn't want to live anymore. And I saw you in the Sandman. You look like you were having fun out there. And he goes, I tuned in every week, and you guys helped me get through the hardest time of my life. And just stuff like that is just, again, total strangers, where people send emails to me, and it's just like, thank you. And the best, again, social media. Fans hit me up, and I'll DM thanks, and like, is this really Tommy Dreamer? I'm like, yes, I'm verified here. I'm talking to you. You know what's up. So I never had that. I'm a superstar. I was always in a world of superstars. I'm just me.
Is it that kind of stuff that has kept, like, all these years, you've worked in every capacity, and this is an industry, it can really make people jaded, but you come across as still as much a fan today as you were back then. And man, not a lot of people can say that when they've been through what you have.
If you can't still be a fan of something you've loved your whole life, you shouldn't be doing it. Wrestling has given me everything. I met my wife in wrestling, who I have 2 beautiful daughters, who are the loves of my life. Everything I have in my life. I was able to buy my parents a home. ECW, all the stuff we did too. I didn't really get paid for that whole ECW experience, though I got paid part of my legacy. But I mean, I lived at home till I was 30, and I was then able to buy a huge house for my mom and my dad, and just stuff like that has been very, very rewarding. And I do love it. If I played pro baseball, I'd watch baseball all the time. And how could you not? Why would you be jaded in something that I've traveled the world so many times over. I've lived my dream. It's the best form of entertainment. I'll watch Monday Night Raw. I'll get on Twitter and I'll make funny comments, snide comments. Oh, that was horrible. That was great. Or I get to play armchair quarterback like everyone does on Mondays and Tuesdays. I watch every wrestling product there is. I even watch on this the mini show you guys have on the phone.
Oh, yeah.
I watch that 2:30 it's on. I watch it all the time. I love it.
We used to have this program on Fight Network called Honey Wrestling that we'd air late at night. We haven't aired this thing in like 8 years, and to this day we get feedback on Honey Wrestling. It's incredible.
Wrestling fans are the most unique fans out there. I've done a few horror conventions. I've done a few horror movies, and I feel wrestling fans horror fans will tell you, they'll watch any movie that comes out there. They will tell you things about you that was done in a horror film. Wrestling fans are like that times 10. Or you talk about Comic Cons, how everyone gets all dressed up, or like the San Diego Comic Con. Nothing beats wrestling fans. They will tell you things that you did that you don't even remember, but wrestling fans can tell you anything. Or even myself, again, Dusty Rhodes is passing, devastated. Yeah. I remember being a fan. My father was a school teacher. He took me to Florida, and I was going to go by. I was sitting at the concession stand, and then I remember looked and seeing a spotlight, and here comes, to me, it was God on earth. The way the spotlight hit his hair, he had this golden afro, white golden afro that Dusty Rhodes had. I could see still like flies and gnats in the spotlight. It was a hot Florida building. just seeing that and watching him go to the ring, and I was frozen. And I watched that match just mesmerized. And as soon as the match ended, I bought my first 8x10. But I can remember that like it was yesterday. And I don't even know my wife's phone number, but I can remember that moment. I can remember sitting next to my father in the Meadowlands watching Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat go 45 minutes, or the Road Warriors, the first time they ever came to the New York area. And when, that Ozzy Osbourne's Iron Man hit, it was just that memories like that have lasted me a lifetime, and I always want that experience for my fans that come to my shows. But just stuff like that is just magical. I saw the movie, was it Inside Out?
Yep.
I have so many core memories stored up here in my head from just wrestling, and you have to be a fan of this, because why else would you ever do this to your body, or why? And if you're not, make your money, get out, don't bitch about it, don't try to sue anything about it. Well, that's just move forward in your life, because if you're not moving forward, you're moving backward. So,
2 quick things, and then we'll plug the show. Roman Reigns, I'm currently watching him, and I am of the belief they are totally following the Tommy Dreamer blueprint with this guy, who the fans just viewed as this pretty boy that the promotion wants to get behind, and they're just going to present him as this guy that keeps getting beaten down and getting back up and is going to get the audience's respect. Do you see a lot of that? Do you get those comparisons?
I see it a lot on Twitter and social media, and every time he gets a beat down, and he still keeps on fighting, which is cool. He's a great performer. He's second generation, probably third generation star.
Yeah.
He can do it all. He also has an amazing backstory that WWE has not even touched upon. He could have gone to the NFL. He loves this business just as much as Tommy Dreamer does. The fans deemed him not ready because he wasn't the best at promos, but that kid is ready. And I'm a huge Roman Reigns supporter, just like I was a huge John Cena supporter when, I've wrestled John Cena a bunch of times, and John Cena had it once he, and it's now everyone loves John Cena because he's not the top guy. So it's just the cynicalness of professional wrestling. But you look how much John Cena has stepped up his game. It's funny when you're sitting there and you're saying John Cena's having the best match. That didn't just happen. John Cena was always having those matches. You just weren't happy with the outcome. But again, with Roman Reigns, I love the comparison because, again, and especially like with WWE Network, I will live on forever. I will be thinner. I will have more hair. But the network and the large audience, we love wrestling so much. It's tell us when this guy's ready and we will accept it. So there's a lot of guys from 80s, 90s guys. They wouldn't have lasted in the era of social media, because you could see right through him, oh, that person's just here because he's got a good body. He's not a good wrestler, but, hey, different times for different, that's it.
My final question is, just kind of looking at the entire story of ECW. If Tommy Dreamer's writing the book, what is the final chapter of ECW? Would you have been happy if that second one-night stand show was the end point for people, that closure? Was it another moment that stands in time for Tommy Dreamer?
ECW One Night Stand 2005, I wrote that show. Actually, Paul Heyman Vince was not a fan of Mr. Heyman. He wasn't even on the show. And I had to kind of go to bat for Paul to get him even on the show. And then he came in on board, and that show to me was, and if you ever watch that entrance, that was probably one of the happiest I've ever been in wrestling, just because to me that was, I'm looking around and everyone's singing Sandman's entrance, and I said, this is how it should have been. A sold out building, everyone having a great time, and we did change the industry, but that was like, we realized that the world knew what we had done. And to me, it was like, oh man, this is great. Closure-wise, no, because it was just like, can you see what it was? And then when they brought it back, it was supposed to be totally different. But then once it became, the WWE product, it is what it is. What they're doing now with NXT was pretty much the scale model, what we were supposed to do for the original ECW. And, I love NXT. I hope that takes off. I want everybody to do good. But to answer your question, after I left there, my final one, I wrote TNA Hardcore Justice. That to me was end. It was over. was over for me and Raven, and I stuck to that stipulation still to this day. That was we all got to say goodbye and a final farewell, because even with WWE, we were all promised so much, and it didn't happen. And yes, we made it to WrestleMania, and it was those little moments, or even like that, when me and Rob Van Dam and Sandman Sabu, all my friends that we're in wars with, me and Van Dam are in the ring, and we're looking up 70,000 people, and he was like, "You excited?" I said, "Man, this is cool." And he was like, "Look, that's where our families are." And to me, that was the more important thing, that my kids got to see me wrestle at WrestleMania, as opposed not so much for Tommy Dreamer going out there and wrestling at WrestleMania. Because, I mean, again, I was at WrestleMania 1. I thought I could have had a lot of cooler stories, but the fact that I was there, it was cool. But to me, 2005, and it's funny that a lot of people have sent me the picture. I'm bloody, I'm on fire, and the doctor told me Bully Ray hit me so hard with kendo stick, my ear almost, he said, may fall off during the week because I had such trauma. And Beulah turns to me and she's like, "You smell like you're on fire." And I was like, "I just was." She's like, "No, I think you still might be." And I'm leaning against the guardrail covered in blood, and there's a smile, and I'm just like, because to me, that was happy for me. This is what we should have been, and I'm happy everyone's enjoying it. And again, it was, I wish those moments lasted forever. They don't, so just got to keep on living for those moments, because I know eventually, just like my choke slam, they're never going to happen ever again.